Hiya guys, Crazy Teacher Nick here. So I wanted to do something just a little bit different with the run up to exams. I decided to basically uh, do a walkthrough of a paper one, but almost from an examiner's point of view. This is a script I received from a student that is basically going to be writing in the May-June series for 2024. So I decided just to take their paper and almost blind just to mark it as I would as if I was marking this paper as an examiner. So I'm hoping that this is going to give us some ideas of things that we should do, things that we shouldn't do, and hopefully we can look at things that we can do better. Might be a long video, so I've decided I might have to break it into two parts. We'll see how we go. Okay, so this is like really random, just kind of like off the bat. Classes are starting soon. I had a couple of extra hours left because I'm fully prepared for my classes. So I thought I'd hop on and go through a practice paper. So I'm going to start with question 1B. Now, the paper that the student has done is a paper that we've studied in class extensively. We know this exam paper really, really well. It's the specimen paper. And the reason I'm using Cambridge specimen paper is because it's available to the public. So it's in the public domain, so I'm not basically breaking any rules here by using their paper. All the information here is in the public domain. So I'm starting with the question 1B, and you guys will know there's lots of other videos within my channel which basically talk about when we're writing our paper, we want to basically be thinking about question 1B before we write the question 1A. Okay, so we want to be thinking about what we're going to be writing. Remember that this is the comparative. Okay, so the student has started out with a focus quite specifically on the purpose. Okay, so the purpose of the original text is to persuade. Okay, and the student has listed a couple of persuasive language techniques, repetitions, some rhetorical questions. However, text 2's purpose is to inform or to entertain through the use of opinion and anecdotes. Now, there's two good things here and two bad things. I'm going to start out with the fact that they're talking about purpose. Purpose, very important, because it's part of form. So that's great. Okay. Yes, the original text, as you guys will remember, was an advertisement. So therefore, it would probably be to persuade. I mean, that's what we would expect. Okay. It's very general. It's very, very much an overview. The only thing that the student doesn't do here is they don't name the actual text. They call it the original text. You want to be clear for your examiner. Identify it as an advertisement. Okay? Whatever text 2 is, identify it for your examiner because you are going to be getting marks for showing that you've understood the texts as well. So rather than going original text or text 2, identify those texts clearly. It may kind of be a little bit repetitive in basically saying the advertisement and the leaflet, okay, or the review in this case, okay. So state that it is a review, that you know that it is a review. And you want to make sure that those purposes, that they connect with your text types. So again, know your text types. Know the different purposes that you might be applying to your different text types. The student then goes on to discuss tone. Again, discussing tone is a good idea. It's part of form. Okay, this is an overall tone that they're discussing. Because remember, the tone might change in places within the text. And it really is this showing that you have a good overall understanding of both texts. So they've identified the tone as being biased, okay, and they've said that it's extremely positive. And here they've identified that it's to convey enthusiasm and influence the audience into thinking it is credible, okay. I like that. I think that is actually quite astute. Whereas, and that's nice, that whereas is a good connective, okay? Whereas the second text, or in this case, whereas the review's tone, okay? I don't like this use of the number twos with this, it's very informal. Okay, I don't know if as an examiner, I might overlook it because maybe I'm nice, but remember, you want to basically be impressing your examiner. So I would basically maybe have written out the number 2 or the number 1. Okay, text 1. And I noticed that basically later on in the text, the student changes from text 1 to text 1. Be consistent. Okay, inconsistencies like that are going to be little niggling things that are going to bother an examiner. Whereas text 2, so it is comparative, the tone may be positive, it is more pleased, and it conveys that the writer obviously had an enjoyable experience. Okay, I don't think it's as strong as the first point that they discussed about the tone here, but yes, it shows that they have a certain amount of understanding. Remember, you wrote that second text, you wrote that point there. Both texts have very similar audiences. Okay, so here is that discussion of the audience. So we've got purpose, we've got tone, we've got audience. Okay, and it's good that they've combined the ideas, kind of showing I do have an understanding that both audiences are similar. I maybe disagree thinking about the text types in terms of the audience. And the advertisement, I think the audience is perhaps much wider, whereas a review, thinking about the fact that this text is called the Real Deal Review website, I think that basically the audience would be people that basically, and you want to be specific about that audience. Don't be afraid to be specific about that audience. I agree. There are both possibly people that can afford, this experience, but try and dig down into that audience. Be a little bit more specific. Don't be afraid to basically say that the audience are people that are, looking for, affordable accommodation in Cape Town, perhaps, focusing on the fact that they use the Real Deal with text type. Okay. So now we go on to this idea of the form of the text. Okay, so the form of the text is the shape. Okay, the shape and the structure. And we're going to have a look at what Cambridge would expect when they're looking for things about form. Okay, but here the student says the form of text 1 is that of an advertisement. That is information we know, so is it worth rewriting? And by using its designated key conventions of being informal. So here they're identifying the key conventions of an advertisement, which is a good idea. Okay, but now I'm expecting to see a little bit more supporting evidence here. If you're going to identify those key conventions, I want to see some supporting evidence. Okay, obviously there's is that of an advertisement. A small little mistake like that. Guys, if you're typing this for your teachers, please do, just make the short, the little bit of effort to basically check your spelling, to check when spell check says, hey, there might be a problem here. Not so much because the teacher's going to go, hey, oh, okay, it's more for your own learning, guys. It's more for your own learning. Anyway, so the form of the text is that of an advertisement. Key conventions being that it's informal. Well, sometimes it can be informal. It depends on the text type. Was there something in the text that basically you can show that it is informal? Okay. So they say through the use of emotive language. Now that is interesting because emotive language is definitely a persuasive language device. So make sure you know your persuasive language devices. You're going to be using them in reviews. You're going to be using them in persuasive texts. okay? The use of facts and keeping a constant positive mood throughout the text. I don't know. Again, guys, be very careful if you're not clear on what the difference is between mood, okay, you know, because the mood is something that students often make mistakes on. That the text has a positive mood, that mood is created by the language of the text. So what is it that you can use to show that? Okay. In comparison with text 2's form, so I don't have anything that so all you've done is just list ideas. You haven't supported any ideas. So as an examiner, I'm going, okay, so you know that there are some things there. There's emotive language, there's facts, okay. There's perhaps, you know, positive lexis that's creating that positive mood in the text, okay, but there's no supporting evidence. That's going to cost the student marks here. The student text 2's form uses key conventions of a review. So again, not all reviews are informal. I mean, if you're reviewing perhaps, you know, this I'm trying to think of a big classical, you know, show, you might not be as informal. You might be a little bit more formal considering your audience. So don't just take it for granted that it's going to be informal. Making comparisons between the hotels using statistics like 98%. Now, there are statistics used within the text. Statistics is something that you would expect to see in an advertisement, maybe not necessarily in a review, but I see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to say that there's comparisons. And I think, again, that the student hasn't chosen a you know, supporting evidence, okay, that point evidence explain, that supporting evidence that is clear to the examiner exactly what your point is. So there's a comparison between hotels using statistics like 98%. How is that comparable? Okay, big mistake a lot of students make with this paper is that because they write in the paper and because they've read the paper, they expect the examiner to automatically understand exactly what they are thinking. You need to be writing, thinking about your audience. Your audience is the examiner. Okay, so even when you are writing your comparative analysis, think about how am I showing my examiner? How am I being clear to my examiner? So that is going to cost the student marks. Both have correlating key conventions. This is exciting, okay? Because we like to see that you can see comparisons, you can show the comparisons, but by also saying that they have similar conventions, I want to see those examples. Text 1 uses the second person you, so the advertisement in order to gauge with the audience, that's a very good point, as well as they're bringing them closer to the text and to be able to experience it in its fullest. Guys, this question 1B, okay, you've only got about 400 words. Don't keep saying the same thing over and over again. Get in, get out. Make your point, be direct, be to the point. Writer uses second person you to engage with the audience. You know, you could possibly even add, you know, to engage directly with the audience. Then you've combined all of that together. But by over saying the thing and that, you're wasting time, not just the examiner's time, but your ink and your own time. Okay. On the other hand, text 2 uses first person. Now, how is there a correlation? That to me still seems like it is comparative. I don't think that they are very similar there. If they want to talk about that both texts are using personal pronouns within the text or focusing on a specific point of view, then there might be a correlation. But that to me seems to be comparable, and that on the other hand definitely identifies it. So the use of the first person to convey opinion, expertise, experience in order to provide the audience with another view of the place. Some good ideas there, not well thought out, not planned, and that definitely I think is something that is coming through here, is that the the planning that has gone into the writing of the 1B is not there. Okay, and that would be my advice to the student again. Think about what points you're going to be making when you're going into your text. Okay, so at this point in that, I'm thinking that the student is basically sitting average, some good ideas, but the student is not being clear. Student goes on. Text 1 uses the structural device of foreshadowing in the headline by the use of the phrase only the very best. Okay. Foreshadowing. I'm thinking about an advertisement. Why might they do this? Okay. And then they go on to say predicting a feel of supremacy by using the words majesty, king, and regal. Now that could have been done a lot better, thinking about the lexicon, which in its own rights creates a lexical field of it throughout the text. I see what you're trying to do here. I think you're trying to combine two ideas. You didn't explain to me clearly why they might use foreshadowing in the headline. Okay, I think that it could have been a point, get in, get out. Point, evidence, explain, move on. And then you could have made a point on the lexical field. Okay, in addition, the text zooms in, good structural device, by viewing the outer area of the hotel to describing its inners. This allows the audience to feel the expression and the beauty of the place one by one, as well as making the audience focus on the Pembroke. Some good ideas there. Again, it's not precise, it is not clear. You need to be direct and to the point. Good ideas, but it's not clear to the examiner exactly what is it that you're focusing on. Foreshadowing, okay. The use of the lexical field, I don't know, is that a structural device? Okay. And then the zooming in, definitely a structural device. So again, you only need two structural devices, you know, to show the examiner that you've understood them, but that's where the point, evidence, explain comes in. Get in, get out, move on. You do not have to combine all of your ideas in one paragraph. You can discuss one structural device, okay, move on to the next structural device in its own paragraph if you want to. Okay, you do not have to put it all together. And here the student is also now in contrast. The review uses shift in focus throughout the text to be able to convey an overview of the experience. However, similarly, the text also zooms in on the colors of the apartment, conveying what really stood out to the narrator. Okay, but again, remember, you've got to think about the audience, think about the audience, think about the audience. What is the effect on the audience? Point, evidence, explain. What is the impact? I don't see, other than perhaps the zooming in, that there's something that is comparable here. Okay, again, I come back to this thing. You've only got about 400 words in this question 1B. Be clear, be precise, be direct. Lastly, the advertisement uses the one persuasive language technique of reputation of the word. I think that was supposed to be repetition. Check your spelling, people. Okay, of the word very best to ensure to think about what repetition does. Okay, sticking in the audience's mind is very, very weak. Your examiner is just going to ignore that. They're going to just take into account that you've said the writer uses repetition, that it's a persuasive language device. That's about it. In contrast, so how a review uses the simile, a knight in shining armor. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know why and how is it comparable. Okay, why is it comparable? Okay, creating the image in the audience's head. Again, that is just a weak, everything creates an image in the audience's head. Is your focus on the visual aspect of the text? Then be focused on that. It's one language device. And again, guys, you know, it's a common mistake. So let's go and have a look at what the features of a good comparative response should be like. A good comparative response should be structured carefully. Okay, again, be precise, be clear, be direct, plan, 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 know ahead. This is why I tell you, you've got to plan your 2B before you write your 1A. I'll see if I can list my videos on how to do this, but you can just go on to the Crazy Teacher Nick and actually search for Crazy Teacher Nick AS level and push the videos button. You'll see all the videos I've got that would definitely be helping the student. Structure your text carefully. It helps the reader to follow your explanations. Your reader is your examiner. They're a reader. Don't just assume that they know exactly everything that you're trying to say because it's in your head. Be clear, be precise, be to the point. Okay, so an effective response should provide a succinct overview. Okay, there was some of that. Okay, the student did discuss kind of the overall tone, the overall approach of the text and the style of the two texts. Don't just list individual things about the text, okay? Show the examiner that you have an understanding of both texts and how they might be different. Comment on the different form and styles of both texts. Now remember, form and style is going to be very, very similar. You've only got 400 words. Be precise. So you need to identify particular differences, okay? Express those differing qualities clearly and analytically. Do not be vague or unspecific. And this is where point, evidence, explain, and planning in advance is going to help you. Explain the different language devices and structural devices. Don't just identify them, okay? Think about how they affect the overall tone and the overall purpose of the text and how they impact the reader. Okay, remember, you write 1A to be comparable with the original text that they provide you. Okay, you have to think deeper, know your key conventions, and it's going to be easier for you. And there it is. Be precise. Point, evidence, explain. Point, evidence, explain. And a good structure that you can basically use, okay, is something like this. Firstly, sum up your overall focus of both texts, suggesting the key ways in which they are similar or different. Okay, maybe 50 words roundabout there, don't go further than that. Discuss the use of conventions, so you can show the examiner, I understand the two key conventions in the text, where they are similar, where they are different. Identify language devices, at least 2 language devices, write about at least 2 structural devices, and then if you still got time within your 60 minutes to complete this, write about any other structural or linguistic devices that you have time for. Okay, and guys, use those comparative connectors, please. Similarly, likewise, equally, in the same way. On the other hand, nevertheless, in contrast, however, they are so important. These here, this side, okay, use these, okay. And guys, there's no specific way to structure your thing. This is a great structure to use, okay. And you'll notice that I don't say second paragraph. I just say secondly. So you could discuss one key convention, how it compares with another key convention. One key convention, how it compares with, or you could discuss key conventions and how they are comparable, but you must understand them and show that they are comparable. Same with language devices, same with structural devices, and you chose those structural devices to be comparative, so you should know how to do that. I do have a video on how to basically do this much easier. We're marking it. Okay. This is the student's 1A. So we're going to basically go through this. Okay. What has the student done that is well? Now remember, you have read the information in the 1A, so you use that. You have to use a certain amount of that information inside there in order to be able to write your own text. If you are reading this, the Grand Pembroke must have caught your attention just like it caught mine and my husband's. Being a person who regularly visits the one and only and Cape Grace, Pembroke is in a league of its own, lounging in its own throne, a diamond in the rough. Okay, I see what the student is doing here. Just keep in mind, please, 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 although the examiner has read the text, do not just assume that your readers know exactly what everything is. Okay? Why you have to include your husband, I have no idea. That's wasted words, wasted time coming up with that. Okay? Again, you've only got 150 words. Okay? You've only got 150 to 200 words for this text. This text is 179 words. That's a good target, but do not waste your words. Okay? So the Grand Pembroke, the title, the Deceptively Honest, again, be consistent in your typing, that this is not a capital, that this is not a capital, is going to basically raise questions with the examiner. Okay. The Grand Pembroke, I don't remember that directly from the text. Being a person who regularly visits. Now, I think that this is a missed opportunity talking about visits, reviews, hotels, like the one and only in the Cape Grace. Key points from the text. It is a review, so that would basically show the examiner you know that it's a review. Okay, I think that's a lost opportunity. The Pembroke is in a league of its own, lounging in its own throne, a diamond in the rough. And I think that the use of the language, creating a lexical field here, that is clever. Okay, so there's some good points, there's some bad points. Again, the student here is not thinking about the audience that they're writing for on a review website, okay, and they're definitely not thinking about their examiner. Why? Again, okay, I'm not quite sure. It's a short sentence. It's it's an interrogative. Good idea. You don't discuss it in your comparison, so I don't know why you used it, but it's a good thing to have done. Okay. Again, maybe to encourage the reader's attention, to make sure that the reader's focus is maintained. Why? So it's a good idea. I don't have any too many problems with that. They were able to organize airport transfers and car hire on short notice after my pre-booked plans have disastrously fallen through with another organization. Extra information, I don't know why it's there. It's a whole 20 words or 10 words that has been wasted. Okay, that could have been used to create effect. Remember, you're not telling a story. You've got to think about who your audience is, what your purpose is. Maybe it was for this, to create this Pembroke saving the day like a knight in shining armor. Okay, I get it, creating imagery. I see what you're trying to do there. 98% of other places wouldn't have been so enthusiastic to help their guests. Remember, this is a review, guys. How much does it cost? What are the rooms like? Are the staff friendly? Don't tell a story. This is not the purpose of your review. It's a big mistake so many students make. Think about what your audience wants. It's a review. Do they care that your pre-booked plans had fallen through? Do they care that your husband is with you? No, they don't. They want to know, is this a nice place to stay? Are the bed sheets clean? Is there hair in the shower? What's the sound system like? What is the view like? We don't care about these other things. Okay. The Pembroke has luxury services you are able to access for the flick of a finger. That is something we want to know. A private chef. Okay, so they've got a private chef, a private tour, a private oasis in the city of beaches. Okay, I don't know what that is. I understand that they're using the private. Obviously, it's a repetition. They're creating effect through the repetition. I don't know, is this supposed to be an advert or a review? Okay, but perhaps they're trying to create this effect of trying to make it comparable with something in the original text. We've already read the 1B. I didn't see them really refer to any of those. So again, wasted opportunities here. Breathtaking, surreal, enthralling, great, good use of descriptive language, good use of sentence structures. Okay, again, I don't remember anything being discussed about it. Okay, the apartment has regal silver glints, cobalt blue touches, and white color schemes that set the mood for the surf. Okay, again, how is that telling me as a person that wants to find out, is it a nice place to stay? And what are silver glints? What are cobalt blue touches? What is that? Is that the view? Is that the interior? Do not expect the examiner to know these things. Everything flowing and soothing, just like that of the lapping waves that you could hear every night. Now that is nice, good bits of imagery there, okay? Again, I like this idea, giving themselves their name, Julian Plowman. It's, you know, but remember, you are writing for the Real Deal website, review website. So I would have maybe given, I give this a Real Deal 5 out of 5 stars. But the fact that the student has got a rating there, that's a good idea. So there are some good points, there are some bad points to this text. Okay, again, I think that the student basically is not planning when they're doing their work. Okay, so for the 1A, okay, in the writing, remember guys, it's out of 10 marks, 5 marks for reading, 5 marks for the writing, and this is what the examiners use to basically understand how they're going to be allocating marks. Okay, so there we are given the question as examiners to basically, yes, okay, we need to think about what the question was that they were given. Student wrote about 179 words. Okay, that's good. But remember that word count is more about timing. They tell us that we need to give marks based on table A, and we're going to look at that in a minute. Then they say these are some of the things that students should be thinking about. It's not everything, but it's some of the things they should be thinking about. Students can make any other valid comments that should be credited. So we've got to know the text. So we were expecting as a review, a description of the apartment, the description of its surroundings, some personal opinion and an anecdote. And I want you to look at these bullet points. These are key conventions. If you don't know your key conventions, you're going to be nobbled. So how would I allocate a grade for this? Okay. Was there a limited understanding of the text? I didn't see any great references to the text. Okay. There were 1 or 2 points. Was the understanding clear? To a certain degree, but I have to admit that basically I didn't see any clear reference to characteristic features from the text. They didn't talk about the mood lighting, the sheets. You know, they spoke about their husband and the terrible event that happened. So I'm actually going to allocate a 2 out of 5, okay, showing an understanding of the text itself. In the writing of the text, okay, expression is clear but may not flow easily, frequent errors which generally do not impede communication, content is mostly relevant to the audience and purpose, ideas are developed in a limited manner, and I think that that's where I would sit. I agree with everything here. I don't think the expression was clear. I could, if I was, you know, it's a difficult one. Maybe I could go with a 3 out of 5 here, which would basically give the student a what? A 5 out of 10. That's a 50%. So a 4 out of 10, a 5 out of 10. So that's 40 or 50% to start with. Okay. Guys, you've seen some of my other videos where I've shown you top students' work in that. This one, definitely I would set it a 4 out of 10. 5 out of 10 at the very most. on the question 2B, okay, so remember what the question asks you. They tell you to basically compare your review with the advertisement. The big word is be comparative. So you will create those effects to be comparative. Okay. So candidates can make any other comments, valid comments that should be credited. So when you're writing your comparative, what you give us, what Cambridge tells us we can, we should be looking for, we can still credit other ideas. Okay, so remember, these are going to be your teachers. Okay, these are senior people that have basically been doing this for a long time. So basically, again, think about your examiner when you're writing your comparative. Be clear and precise. Okay. You don't have to write about form, structure, and language in separate sections, and it can be helpful. And I'm going to show you a structure that I think at the end of this that would be very, very helpful to you. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm not going to read through the form and the structure. You guys can pause here. Okay. You guys can download the mark scheme from the internet. It's freely available on the Cambridge website to the public. So please feel free to basically read through it, either pause and read through it, understanding what things they were looking for in form, what things they were looking for in structure, and what things they were looking for in language. Okay, and use the mark schemes, okay, to help you understand what sorts of things examiners are looking for. In this case, okay, in terms of the comparison, okay, I still basically would sit at level 2 or level 3 for assessment objective 1. So let's say I'm going to be very kind, and I'm going to basically give the benefit of the doubt. There were some reference to characteristic features within the text. So let's say I give 3 marks. The analysis, however, okay, I wasn't very happy with. There was no point evidence explain. Yes, they identified some form, they identified some structure, they identified some language, okay. So I would basically maybe allocate on this level a level 3, so maybe a 3 and a 5 out of 15, which would basically give, and let's say we give the benefit of the doubt, 5 out of 10 for question 1A, 8 out of 10, that would basically give you a 13 out of 25, and I'll allow you guys to figure out what the percentage would be for that very first question. But I definitely think that a 13 out of 25 is what I would allocate for the student. Okay, the comparison was definitely not detailed. The analysis was not detailed. You need to be clear, precise, and to the point. Okay. So when you are structuring, and when you are, before you even write your 1A, you need to come to this structure, to this form. You need to think about what conventions you're going to be using. You need to think about what language devices you're going to be using. You need to be thinking about what structural devices you're going to be using. And any other structural or language devices that you have in the text, you are writing them with purpose. Okay, with purpose. This has been a long video, so please guys feel free to ask any questions. Okay, section B will be continued after this. I'm going to stop this video. I thought it might go on. Okay, so part B to be continued, where I'll continue with question 2 from the student. I want you guys, please like and subscribe, guys. I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. Remember, guys, the more subscribers I have, the more people we can help with these videos. The more questions we'll have, the more we can actually make sure that we're supporting, more people, because that's the idea, is we want to help as many people to get those top marks from Cambridge. Okay, if you've got any questions, please pop them into the down below here. and I will answer any questions, even if it's to ideas or things in the paper. Okay. Go through my other videos. Please, they are there to help you. Okay, I'll stop there. You guys rock. Peace out, and I will see you in the next video to follow this one.